Castillo. I'm the senior chief investigator for the Dordulian Law Group. Many of you know I retired from the Los Angeles Police Department after 30 years of service. And my passion has always been for advocating for victims of crime. Today we have called this press conference to announce that we are not only disgusted, but we are appalled with George Gascon's, the new elected district attorney of Los Angeles County, with the special directives. On the very first day that he took office, he sent an email to all of his prosecutors, which is almost 1,000 prosecutors, announcing his 9 special directives, which are sweeping changes. Today you're going to hear from some of those families impacted by those directives. We're going to announce that our law firm is going to represent many victims and advocate for them, those that have been impacted. We're also going to discuss about 2 court appearances that we already made on behalf of these victims. We're also offering legal assistance to the prosecutors on these cases. Some of these prosecutors are facing official reprimands, written reprimands, adverse action by Gascon's office for these prosecutors not following through with his special directives. And you're going to get into some insight as to some of that. We're going to talk about a Google Docs survey. This Google Docs survey was sent out not to the prosecutors, not to his own staff, but George Gascon's office sent this survey to the public defenders, to the alternate public defenders, asking them to please complete this survey on their cases when a prosecutor makes or declines to make motions that go along with the special directives. Talk about a hostile work environment. And we're also going to be talking about the options that this law firm is considering, legal options to block these directive orders from being implemented. And so for that, I'm going to introduce the principal owner of this law firm, Samuel Dordulian, and I'll let him give you a little background of where he's been and why we are here today. Thank you. Who's that?
I don't know.
Well,
Well, that's KCAL.
KCAL,
Yeah.
go ahead. You gonna sit up, sir?
Yeah, I'll wait.
Just gonna wait.
No, wait.
You can sit down if you want.
Okay. Is that better for? Yeah, a little better. So I want to start off by acknowledging the disparity that exists right now in our country, in our county. I know there's a lot of division that exists between the conservatives and the liberals, and I want to make sure that everyone understands I'm not coming from any political viewpoint. Actually, let me take this off or further away. I'm not coming from any particular political viewpoint. What I'm here for is to talk about what is right and what is wrong. And George Gascon's special directives that he issued on his first day is completely wrong. And that's why we're here, and that's why we're here to talk about some of the people who are being directly impacted by George Gascon's special directives. As the chief law enforcement officer, which he is in LA County, he is tasked with being our chief advocate for the victims of crime. That's what his job is. But somehow, George Gascon strays away from that. His focus is not about the victims' families. His focus is about the criminals. His focus is about the defendants. His focus is about the money and how he can save people money. But if you read his special directives, almost nowhere in any of the special directives is any emphasis about how this is going to impact the victims and how his policy changes will have any direct impact upon victims of crime and upon society as a general. Throughout his special directives, it's about the impact the criminal justice system will have on those who are incarcerated, the defendants, the criminals. That has been his focus, and that is completely improper. As our chief law enforcement officer, he lost sight of what his entire job is, and that is to represent the victims in the state of California, especially in Los Angeles County. The Supreme Court in 1935 declared that the prosecutor is the servant of the law. He doesn't make up law. He is the servant of the law. George Gascon has gone beyond being a servant of the law, and now he's legislating as a district attorney. The California Constitution, Article 3, subsection 3 goes even further and says that we have three branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. And one person charged with being part of part of the government cannot be on any other part of the government. George Gascon is part of the executive branch. As part of the executive branch, he is tasked with enforcing laws that are passed by legislators. He is not doing that. Not only is he ignoring all the legislative penal codes that mandate people get punished for certain type of conduct, is he completely ignoring that. He's ignoring the will of the people. The people voted that they want the death penalty. He's declared that they're not going to get it. The people voted that they don't want to eliminate cash bail. He's declared that that's what he's going to do. He's doing away with all sorts of penal code sections, misdemeanors, special enhancements that the legislators declare are the appropriate punishments for certain types of crimes. He's doing away with it. He's acting as a legislator, and that's where his conduct is illegal. I can go on about the legal impact of all of his directives, but I think what's more important is to talk about specific impacts on specific people. And we have a group of people standing outside. They're all here for one reason. They're all here asking me to help them because the district attorney is not doing its job. They're all here begging for someone to help them against the criminal that violated their rights, against the criminal that took away their loved ones. We have people here who have suffered from their loved ones being killed, being tortured, being maimed, and I'll talk about the specific stories one by one. And if we sit back and talk about the direct impact that George Gascon's policies are having on individual people, I think we'll all appreciate that these policies are simply wrong. I appeared in court on last Friday. It was People versus Austin Redden. And in that case, you had a defendant, a criminal, who had previously been convicted of DUI on 2 prior occasions. On the last occasion, he was warned, if you do this one more time and your conduct results in the death of another person, you're going to be charged with murder. And guess what? It happened again. He didn't seem to care. In fact, while he had a pending DUI in Orange County, Mr. Redden decided to drive while he was under the influence of nitrous oxide. He crashed his car into a truck, flipped multiple times, and it killed Jacob. Jacob was 20 years old. He was a passenger in the car. There were 2 other people in the car. There was a young woman, and then there was another young gentleman. Both of those people got severely injured. The young woman has traumatic brain injury. The young man ended up with severe injuries requiring multiple surgeries. And despite the great bodily injury that occurred in that specific case, what is the district attorney out there doing? They're pushing to dismiss those great bodily injuries as if it didn't occur. They're pushing to dismiss the allegation that says there was multiple victims, including death, as if it didn't occur. And we have the family here, the aunt for Jacob, who's here to talk to all of you, and will talk to all of you, tell you how this impacts them. Because the conduct of the district attorney is not just simply eliminating charges, but what it's going to do is release these people back into society to harm us once more. There's not going to be any accountability for the crimes that they are committing. One of the worst ones that we have is we have a case where I appeared on this morning. It was in Torrance Court, Department G, Judge Amy Carter. It was People versus Vanessa Cortez. In this case, the defendant was the babysitter for a 6-month-old baby. Her picture is right here. She was 6 months old when she was put in the care and custody of the defendant. And when the mom went to pick her up, her head was fractured. She had a skull fracture. She was unresponsive. She was taken to the hospital and they found multiple hematomas. This little 6-month-old was hit on the head with a blunt object and hit so hard that her skull fractured. She's now permanently blind. She cannot walk. She cannot talk. She gets fed by a feeding tube. She's now 3 years old. And now she will suffer for the rest of her life. The defendant was charged with child abuse with great bodily injury. And this morning, in the infinite wisdom of George Gascon, the district attorney's office attempted to dismiss the great bodily injury allegation.
I was there and I objected vehemently against that. Thankfully, the court didn't do that. It actually trailed the case until Wednesday. We're going to hear more arguments on Wednesday. If George Gascon succeeds and eliminates the great bodily injury allegation, this child who will suffer for the rest of her life, what will happen with the defendant? She will likely get probation. She will likely walk out of court and never serve any additional time in jail. That is how the policies of George Gascon is impacting us as people, as members and citizens of Los Angeles County. This is the type of policies that he's advocating for. His focus is not on the victims, his focus is on the criminals. We have other people that will be here and talking about, and you got Jacob Sciani's family members there. We have other people here. We have the family members for Deputy Joseph Solano. Deputy Solano was minding his own business. He was at a Jack in the Box, trying to order a meal. He was shot in the head by a criminal who didn't just kill Deputy Solano. He had just finished killing another random individual in downtown LA. This was a second murder on that same day. And in that specific case, you have the district attorney's office again trying to eliminate the special enhancements of use of a gun and other special enhancements about killing a police officer. These are, the impact of that is that they're trying to get this person who killed 2 people all in a day for no good reason, just because, they're making an attempt, the district attorney's office is making an attempt to get this person to eventually be freed on parole, so they would have a chance on parole. Instead of focusing on making sure that this person never goes outside in public again and endangers any one of us, instead of doing that, the focus is how can we help this individual get back on the streets? Because under the premise of our district attorney is everybody, all criminals deserve a chance again. But these people will not get another chance. This young girl will not get another chance for life. Her life has been ruined. The people, the family members for Joseph Solano will not get another chance. He's been murdered. You have the family for Sherilyn Kondo here. She's the young lady that's right here. Her boyfriend came in and shot her in the face 8 times. Not once, not twice, 8 times. And what the district attorney wants to do, I literally just got off the phone with the deputy district attorney charged with prosecuting that case. I talked to her about an hour ago. And she tells me that although murder charges are currently pending, and they had filed the gun allegations per the old policy, because of George Gascon's policy, she believes not only is she now required to dismiss the gun allegations, but she believes she will be pressured to offer this individual that shot this young lady 8 times in the face a voluntary manslaughter, which would now allow her to be eligible for probation. And under George Gascon's infinite wisdom, anybody who's eligible for probation should get probation. That should be the offer. So this man who shot this young lady 8 times in the face likely will be walking out on probation and out there in the streets once again. These are the policies of George Gascon that people need to be aware of. We need to all stand up and say that this is wrong and we're not going to be okay with this. The policies of George Gascon are putting all of us in danger. Every citizen of Los Angeles County stands in danger because of the policies of George Gascon. And I'm going to invite some of the family members to come and talk, and I'll be present here for any follow-up.
So before you do that, can you talk about Trujillo confidential court on Friday?
So some of the context, I'm friends with a lot of deputy district attorneys still in the office, and everybody is terrified. No one agrees, and I can say uniformly no one agrees. I've talked to probably in excess of 30 deputy DAs, and they'll tell me inside the office there's absolutely no support for George Gascon's policies. You have these career prosecutors who are saying this is wrong. They want to stand up and do the right thing. They can't, because they're threatened with being terminated. They're threatened with getting sanctioned. I was in court on Friday, and the deputy DA I was talking to, she wanted to make a statement to the judge. She wanted to tell the judge that she's being forced to seek the dismissal of the special allegations, but she wanted to tell the judge how she felt about it. And right as we're about to start, you had Mario Trujillo walk in, who is the special advisor for George Gascon. And instead of walking up to his deputy district attorneys that were in the courtroom, instead of doing that, he walked right up to the defense attorney and told him, introduced himself and said, I'm the special advisor to George Gascon. He's very concerned about what people say about his special directives. He wants to know everything that is said about it. And he asked the defense attorney, you make sure you give me transcripts. So George Gascon wants to make sure that his special directives are followed to the T. It was a message being sent to his prosecutors. Don't stray away from what I told you to do. If you do, there will be consequences. And then he walked out. Never once approached his deputy DAs in the courtroom. And you should have seen the faces of the deputy DAs in the courtroom. They were aghast. They didn't understand why this person would do that. They felt it as a threat. They believed it was a threat, and it was, in fact, very much a threat to them. That deputy DA, when she walked out of that courtroom that day, having been forced to seek the dismissal of something she didn't feel was appropriate or right, she broke down crying. In the hallway, she literally broke down crying, saying, this is completely unethical of me, that I was forced to do something like this. She didn't feel it was appropriate, but she did it because she was being told she had to do it. And that's what's happening within the DA's office. There's zero support for George Gascon's policies, which is why he has someone from the Deputy Public Defender's office now on his team to recruit a whole bunch of people outside the office because the people inside the office do not agree with him. And this is the reality that we're all facing. He's running a social experiment that is dangerous for all of us because his whole goal is to release all these criminals out there in the streets, and somehow they're magically going to behave. And that simply isn't going to happen. So let me invite some of the family members here. Sure.
Go ahead and state your name, please, and respond for us.
Juliana Loza, Julianna, Loza, Loca.
Just tell us a little bit about your loved one and what happened.
So, on June 10th, 2019, around 5:45 p.m., Deputy Joseph Solano was in Alhambra, California. He had just got off of work. He was getting his elderly mother an oil change, and unbeknownst to him, a perpetrator who had previously killed a snowboarder in downtown LA an hour before was watching him as he was ordering food at Jack in the Box. And when he turned around, the perpetrator shot him in the back of the head in cold blood, where he collapsed and was transported to County USC Hospital, and where he later succumbed to his injuries on June 12, 2019.
Why are you here today?
I'm here today because I'm disgusted, I'm saddened by what the newly elected Deputy District Attorney George Gascon is doing. Under his directives, he would require any deputy DA that is trying this case to ask the court to have the special allegations dismissed. The special allegations would have to do with committing multiple murders, since he killed 2 people, and the gun allegations, which in turn would take the death penalty and life without the possibility of parole off the table. And the suspect would then only be charged with 2 murders, which has a maximum confinement time of 25 years to life on each murder, for a total of 50 years to life, and also be charged with 2 robberies, which I don't know what the sentencing range on that is, however, potentially up to 18 years for a maximum confinement time of 68 years to life. And then after that point in time, after serving 15 years, he could petition the court to ask to be released. And I'm very disparaged by that. I do not feel that this man should be able to roam around and live his life when Deputy Solano was killed and everything was taken away from him and us and our family.
Is there any chance that you speak Spanish?
Unfortunately, I don't.
What is your relationship to Deputy Solano?
I was his longtime girlfriend of 11 years.
And it was my brother, so.
And just so we're clear, although he's currently charged with first-degree murder, there's been talk that George Gascon's policies will also include eliminating first-degree and only charging people with second-degree murder. So the time frame that Juliana just went through, more likely than not, will be drastically reduced by half, if not more.
Okay, and I wasn't aware of that, so that was just based on the knowledge that I have. And now that even makes me more saddened, disgusted. I don't think George Gascon knows what impact this has on victims' family. Until something happens to you, you don't know the gravity of it or how. I understand that the justice system needs to be reformed. However, this is not justice, and this is not how you do it, especially on the first day that you take an oath in office.
Any other questions by anybody? Next, you're gonna have Jacob's family. Jacob is the framed photograph on the table. Can you please state and spell your name for us, please?
Michelle Shawnee, Michellescianni.
Yes, tell us a little bit about what happened with Jacob.
I'm here to speak on behalf of Jacob Shawnee, who was my nephew, who died in a devastating collision caused by a man who was driving impaired under the influence of drugs and crashed into a tow truck, flipped the car 4 times, killing my nephew and injuring 2 other passengers in the car. One on life support, did not expect to live but did live, and both injuring their necks and breaking their either spine or back. As far as the case is concerned, Gascon has asked our district attorney to drop a lot of the charges, some of the charges involving great bodily harm and also DUI and causing harm to more than one person. And that's devastating to us because you're showing leniency to somebody that has no remorse, has not shown any remorse to us. And those things happen. And we wanted to go to court, and he's pressuring our attorney, the district attorney, to drop those charges. We don't want them dropped. We need the courts to play it out, and we need the judge and jury to decide this case. Thank you.
And how does that decision that George Gascon is making impact you as a family member?
It's devastating to us because we'll never have Jacob back the rest of our life. He was only 20 years old. And this loss is devastating to our family. And this kid has been warned several times about these offenses. And I feel like he's a danger if he is let out. He has not learned his lesson, and he could do this again to somebody else. He needs to take responsibility for his actions. That's why we have these laws there.
Any questions for with you today?
I'm sorry?
For
Oh, this is Brianna. This is Jacob's girlfriend. And this is Jacob's grandmother, Denise Shawnee, and Brianna Marcos. So they're here to support Jacob, justice for Jacob. This is not justice, and we need justice for Jacob.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for
By any
listening to us.
chance, sorry, somebody speaks a little Spanish?
I don't. No, I'm sorry. Do you speak any?
Just to share, para que puedas compartir con la amiga en español lo urgente que es cambiar las leyes de la Justicia de Gato. It's okay,
No.
thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine, thank you.
Thank you for the time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You go that way, yeah, okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good
afternoon. Please tell us your name and if you can spell it correctly.
Sure. My name is Ruben Conde. Last name is spelled C-O-N-D-E.
And please tell us a little bit about what happened to your loved ones, please.
August 3rd, 2020. My daughter was shot 8 times in the face. By her boyfriend. The day of that incident, I get a phone call from a family member that lives about 2 houses away, saying that there's police activity at my ex-wife's home. Therefore, I made some phone calls and text messages to my daughter and her boyfriend to see if they were okay. I didn't get no response, so I decided to call Dominique, Charlene's mother, and she told me she hasn't heard from them or anything. So therefore, I was getting ready to go see what was going on. So when I get there, everything's all taped off. They didn't allow me to go in. They had to wait for the detectives, and all the descriptions, they asked for descriptions of my daughter. I gave it to them, and it matched the descriptions what I gave them. My daughter was a very busy young lady, very ambitious. She went up to Holy Names University, which is up in Oakland. She dormed there, she lived there. And she was forced to come back home because her curriculum had changed. I thought she wanted just to come back home, but yes,
I'm sorry, Ron. Can you tell us why you're here today?
definitely. I'm here today because the young man who shot my daughter could get released. It could be just probation instead of getting 25 years to life. All these, the new district attorney is giving these criminals a little bit more leniency, what's the proper word? Yeah. And I feel that if a person acts out and kills or murders somebody or do harm or they're bad to the society, they should be incarcerated. They should do the maximum life, 25 years, whatever it may be.
Can you talk about how the detective called you to tell you might be released? Everybody has a $3 million bond.
Yes, he does have a $3 million bond, and because of the new, the district attorney Gascon, he is dropping all the bail amounts And the therapist told me that basically he can get just probation period for the crime that he did.
Sir, I'm very sorry for the tragedy that you suffered with your daughter. Tell us what your emotions are at this moment and what you hope to accomplish by speaking out.
I'm here, I'm hurting so bad. I miss my daughter so much. And not only just because of my daughter, but for all the victims, all the families who lost their loved ones to acts of crime or acts of violence. And it's not right that these criminals that created this act can just get released on just a slap on the hand, basically. For, you know, it's not justice. I hate to see somebody come out and then they do it again. It could be any one of you guys, anybody here. And I don't want that to happen.
Do you feel that the system has failed you?
Yes, they're starting to fail me. It's starting to fail me.
Did you vote for Gascon, for instance?
No.
Well, on whom do you blame this shift?
Gascon. Making this whole shift that happened.
And Mr. Correa, do you speak any bit of Spanish, by chance?
Por favor, ¿nos puede decir qué pasó?
My Spanish is very bad, but
You could try.
A little bit, just you can try
Okay.
what happened and what do you want.
mi hija, los novios mataron mi hija agosto con un pistola 8 veces en la cara. And ahorita está cambiando la
Fiscal?
fiscal Gascon, está bajando todo, and todas las personas que está por dentro cárcel por vida, 20 años, ellos sí pueden salir afuera de jail. Yo siento por todos la gente que muchas cosas hicieron esos malos personas. Y yo no quiero otras gentes, familias que hacen malo por la otra gente.
Gracias, señor Correa.
We see some of the other victims behind you, right? Not just
Yes.
your daughter.
Yes,
Do you feel like you're representing all the families today?
yes, I
How
do.
How so? Tell us how.
Like I said, it's not just because of my daughter, it's other families, other victims, their feelings. They're not gonna be able to see their loved ones grow or have families anymore. Everything's cut off. Not just myself. When he killed my daughter, he also killed me. And that's what's happening with these families. They're killing off memories, future memories.
What do you want to see happen to George Gascon?
Be honest, I would like to see him do the right thing, but right now, I think the best thing is to have him not as district attorney.
En español, como dice attorney, ¿usted cree que Gascón no ha hecho buen trabajo?
No.
Si me puede decir un poquito en español, que no le gustaría que Gascón volviera a reelegirse por lo que ha hecho.
I'm not sure if I can say that, how I can say that.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
sir.
Thank you.
I was wondering, may I say something? Sure.
¿En español? ¿Con él?
English, actually. My English is way better than Spanish, but I can try.
Sure, this is my brother.
Hello, my name is Richard. I'm accompanying my brother today. This is his daughter, my niece. What's being done with Gaston is absolutely no justice to anyone, to any of the families that this has happened to be able just to simply slap someone on the hand and say, it's okay, you're not gonna serve the time, we're just gonna give you probation. What type of individual is this? That's our district attorney now. Who is he representing? The criminals? It's absolutely unjust for him to do that. You're looking at families that were looking at their loved ones, at their future, only hoping the best for them. And yet they become victims of criminals. And it's unjust, it's unfair. Gaston should not be in that position. It was a big mistake. I voted for the man because I thought it would be different. I had no idea that he would do something like this to all the people. Not only have my brother become a victim as well as other families, but now we are all victims. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. ¿Va a hablar en español ahí? ¿Va a hablar español el detective dijo?
I just wanted to highlight what you just saw with these families and the pain that they're feeling. They lost their loved ones, they went through a traumatic event one time. And because of the policies of George Gascon, they're being re-traumatized once more all over again. This is the impact that George Gascon's policies have on real life people and real life families. And that's what I think Mr. Gascon does not appreciate. Mr. Gascon, please look at the pain you are causing these individuals. They're suffering because of the policies you chose that are directed against the criminals and not the victims or the victims' families. This isn't right. As our speaker just said, this is not right. This is just causing more harm upon the victims' families, which is what the focus of Mr. Gascon should be. You know, there is in our Constitution, it actually indicates that the Attorney General, Article 5 of our Constitution indicates the Attorney General of this state has the power to enforce laws that are not being enforced by our local county prosecutors. I call upon the Attorney General to come and look at what's happening in LA County and to do something and to change and to step in and do what's right and to actually enforce our laws. We're not asking for anything more. We have our laws, we simply ask it for it to be enforced. That's not happening in LA County. And I ask upon the Attorney General, call upon the Attorney General to come into LA County and enforce our laws. If you think about it for a second, a person who's held up at gunpoint in LA County will face a dramatically different sentence than that same person who does that same armed robbery in Orange County, San Bernardino County, or Ventura County. Why is that? How is that fair? That simply isn't right. Our Attorney General can make it right. They need to come in here and enforce our laws that George Gascon is not willing to do.
Also, to conclude the English portion of it, I'm going to just add this. The hate crime enhancement is also off the table. So I know about a case where a transgender victim who was severely beaten, and that defendant was charged with the actual ADW and beating of this particular victim, and they actually charge a hate crime, well, that is gonna be off the table.
Oh,
So if you are a member of the LGBT community, you should be outraged as long as we are, because I can't believe that we are now focusing on criminals. So I echo, by the way, Samuel Dordulian is a former prosecutor of 13 years. This is why, together with my experience as an LAPD detective for 30 years, we are so passionate about our victims, and we will fight. We will continue to fight, do whatever we can, make as many court appearances as we can on behalf of these families. And we're waiting to see how this pans out in court. But again, the Attorney General, Javier Becerra, he needs to chime in, he needs to come in here and start enforcing these laws that Gascon is refusing to do. And so I just wanted to get that out there. And we are here for the prosecutors as well. If any of the prosecutors or victims' families need our assistance, please reach out to us. Ahora en español. Mi nombre es Moisés Castillo.